All right.
All
All
right.
right.
So we get to meet young Evelyn. We get to see young Colton. We get to meet Rick. We get a little bit of Vic. And then we get little Miss Dell in the mix. Again,
Ooh.
like I can't shout out and celebrate like better casting for any of these characters, especially when we compare grown-up Colton to young Colton. Totally buying it.
Hmm.
Older Dell with younger Dell, totally buying it. Like these younger characters feel like they actually are the
Yeah,
who we've met so far back in
actually,
time.
it's weird.
I love it.
Uh-huh. It's good.
So like right away we get to see some tension between Dell and little Miss Evie. Evie? Evie? Evie?
I think it's Evie.
Okay. So what are our
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
Well, it she says that it's her summer guest or staying at
Mm-hmm.
for the summer, but she wants to ditch her to go to Morocco. That's why she's going to Morocco with some friends. It's because she's trying to ditch her. But she did say to Alice in either season one or two that um she used to stay with Evelyn in the summer because her dad did work with Evie's dad, with
Yeah.
Evelyn's dad.
Yeah, yeah.
And then something happened at work, and Dell's dad and family lost all of their money. They lost everything, including her horse Lightning, if you remember.
Yes.
So they lost all that. And so I wonder if that, like maybe they took Evelyn in, or I mean, Dell in, to stay with them for a while to sort things out or whatever.
Hmm.
But
Yeah, that was something I was able to piece together too, which I was pretty proud of.
yeah,
Because
we were wondering like last time, like where the connection between their families were, but if going back looking at a previous episode that does
Yeah.
talk about their dads work together, and so they were
Yeah.
forced to be together a lot.
hmm
Yeah.
and it's
Are we
like
keeping you up?
And a little animosity there.
there's just well, I've noticed like this theme of like being indebted to the Goodwins, or something like Dell, because oh, what if they did have to take her family in for this time, and clearly they stayed, because she met Colton, and then the Lingermore thing was like, oh no, oh no, we ruined her house, and it was my child who like was sent to the
Mm.
house, and then yeah, so I think just I don't know. And I have thoughts about the relationship with Dell and Colton. Is that a debt issue too that maybe Dell owes Evie? Does she have the feelings? I don't know for Colton.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of a weird relationship, even like in the current times with the adult them in the past seasons and stuff. It makes a little bit more sense, I think,
Yeah.
now.
It's like when you think about it, when we saw the whole like Lingermore party go down, like they acted like someone died in
Yeah.
there. And there
So
was
much shame.
so much like, oh, we'll never speak about it again. It's like, okay, a bunch of kids had a party.
Right.
Hmm.
Party was at your house, babe.
Granted,
But it's
somebody
not a,
got hurt, but
from
she's
what I thought, it seemed like from Evelyn's side, there was forgiveness. Like I
Mm,
remember hearing Dell say something about that, I think. Um, but for the Landry family or something, it was like, or for whoever, felt like a lot of shame. Like, oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing. But
yeah.
that's because you're already
Again,
going through
but
something.
yeah, coming back to that like theme of like there's like this like I'm indebted to you. My family's
Yeah,
in just like this constant thing where it's like, where did that all come from?
yeah.
So yeah, definitely get to see some tension. Uh, Dell is spicy.
Mm-hmm.
Colton
no, she's tone
is.
deaf, remember?
Mm. No disco. Disco's not cool.
That was awkward. I
Yeah.
felt for him.
I'm feeling Colton's vibe there, though. I agree with him.
Um, Yeah, so we see all of that. Alice blends in miraculously with this crew. It's like she's been best friends with them since forever.
Have Have you noticed that that happens with every person she travels back to? Everybody just like, hey, you're
Come
from
Welcome.
on
Dallas, come hang out
in.
with us. Come stay at our house. Like
Yes.
everyone just
Right?
grabs onto her.
Miss
Yeah.
Congeniality, 20,
Yeah.
whatever the year is.
Right? Uh-huh. I think her like the age they're at certainly helps where they're always in like hangout settings. It's not like, well, I guess she's wandered into the Landry yard before and Colton's been pretty accepting. But teenagers are like, ooh, who's that pretty cute girl? Where's she coming from? Join us. So I
Hmm.
don't know. But she is, I love her. She's the
Oh,
best.
she's the best. It's also really exciting to see so many of like the origins of her music be connected to this time. Like seeing the guitar, but like fully unstickered. And
Hmm.
like the first sticker gets put on, like that's her guitar that she's playing with, like present day.
I can tune that because I know these types of guitars or whatever she
Yeah.
said.
Or that specific one right there. 50
Sticker
years
was a good
later.
touch.
So it's cool. And like just to seeing that whole like seeing her singing with Colton and stuff like that and how good they sound, that was amazing.
Summer breeze.
It's just cool to see that this little period of time is going to be really important for her. Obviously, Dell, obviously, Colton, obviously, Kat, and all that stuff. But like, it's nice to see Alice have her like, this is good for me. Go away, mom. Quit lurking in the
Uh-huh.
Right.
bushes.
Right?
Party with the kids.
That cat is always just hanging around,
Always lurking.
It
hiding
was
in
pretty
the
funny how she just goes, well, I'm already here, so
bushes.
Okay,
let
now I
me
can't remember, like, we toggle back and forth between the times and everything. Kat has to tap out of the 70s to get back because of the book release. Um, Perfect segue there of her
yeah,
looking
that
in the
was.
bushes and having to excuse herself. She has to get back to her book signing or her book release party. And we see Coils like present day, and now it's a cafe and all that stuff, blah, 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 blah. Um, Thoughts on all of this? There's a lot in this quick little scene.
Um, as far as the book reading,
I mean, her presenting
Drama.
the book, her passion behind telling Susanna's story, the way Lewis comes in, the way that Jacob comes
Jacob
in.
responds. That
There's
was a
a lot.
part, kind of exposing himself in a mysterious way, causing a little drama to that story. Yeah, Lewis.
okay, yeah, Jacob comes in like a wrecking ball, which was good to see
Because
because
Hmm.
I've lived it.
it showed him a little emotion and wanting to defend his family.
Totally.
I think it also showed he was finally, not finally, but fully accepting his new family or his new old family and
Yeah.
letting go of the past even more. Like, these are my people. I'm going to
Yeah.
defend them.
His
Because,
heart connected back with his body for
yeah, if this was 1814, he would have pulled out a musket on the guy or something. And, because he was a man back then, remember? So,
Uh-huh. I was just a boy.
right. Which I got to say, I like the scruff they're putting on him, bringing him back to a little,
Yep.
make him look a little older, a
Yes.
little better. But, uh, yeah, but he jumps right in with both feet and just goes after the guy.
Wait,
Now,
I gotta pause for a second and think about like, okay, he is a good one. He is related to Evelyn.
right?
Is this
I would
Evelyn's
assume.
son?
That's all.
Didn't
That's what
they say nephew?
I thought they said son, but I don't know. But then I also have it in my head that Evelyn also has another son. Is there someone named William? Because that's in my head. Because I've been trying to have a theory about Casey, and she keeps saying she's a good one, and her dad is not so great, and she doesn't like him. I don't think they've ever said his name. So that's who I was thinking. That's her dad.
Which would have to be closer to Alice's age if if we're gonna go with the theory that Casey is also Alice's daughter.
Well, yeah, I'm going against that. I
Oh.
haven't believed that so far.
No.
Um, my hot take. Um, for a couple of reasons. I could be totally wrong. I think she's trying to get involved in something. But just I mean, they even said in the show though, like Kat said, like, oh, she's never wet, like as a joke, or like they know what it's like to time travel and all of that. They're like, she's never wet, and like she's always like intentionally there, like not showing up in weird places, but just like at normal. I don't know. It feels very normal when she's there. But I had some other points too, but I don't remember what they were. Um, But yeah, I think also she just didn't have like when she saw Alice, there was no any like moment originally like in season two. And I'm saying that because I just watched it. So in my mind. But yeah, there was no like special like thoughtful moment with
Okay.
either of them. So I
I'm
don't know.
gonna I'm gonna I just was looking at something. That is Evelyn's son.
Okay.
He says it right.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Okay.
Remember when Kat says, I was just gonna about to ask my heckler's name, and he said,
Yeah.
Louis Goodwin, Evelyn's son.
Okay.
So that is
Okay.
Evelyn's son. But there's something about him that I want to say, but then Evelyn would have to have traveled too, that he's not from this time either. I mean, unless he's from like Savannah, Georgia in the 60s, the way he talks, who says the founding of Port Haven exalts Cyrus's contributions in one rogue chapter? Nobody talks like that. One rogue chapter calls him a villain. And
Hmm.
then when he says to Kat, no, you're more than just a mouthpiece. Like, what does he know?
Hmm.
And then he talks to Jacob and he said something about, how did he say it? Son, my quarrel isn't with you. Who says, son, my quarrel isn't with you to somebody the same age as you?
I didn't pick up on any of that. Those are specific details you got there.
Yeah, that it just struck me as this guy is not talking like we would talk right now.
Yeah.
And then to talk to Jacob like he's 50 years older than him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they look to be about the same age.
Mm-hmm.
So something is off with that.
And again, what are you so mad about?
Yeah, I just thought his audacity was awfully suspicious.
Right.
Like
Like
just his character
aggressive.
in general.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
that those are interesting points. I like anytime he opened his mouth, I just kind of wanted to be like, no, I'm not listening. But knowing those are the words that came out of him is quite bizarre.
Yeah, and the whole I don't know. There's something just really, really off.
Yeah.
I know. And
Yeah.
hopefully we find out. But
Hopefully.
Okay. So more to come with him. There has to be.
Put him on
right.
my list.
Lot of questions about him. Who are you? What are you? Also, I had to go back to season two for a second and think about like when all the drama came in and like Brady came and read the contracts at the table with Sam. What was that all about? Also, like what was Lewis's connection to that whole losing the farm thing? What is Sam's whole thing in connection with that?
Sam
What's the deal?
Sam bought the neighbor's property
Yeah.
and they had a verbal agreement between the neighbor and Dell that he would lease some of the land from her, and that was where she was getting her income from. Sam didn't want to do that. He didn't want to lease any land. What he bought was enough for him. And so they brought in Brady to say, well, there was a verbal agreement and that's a binding contract in this province. Well,
Review the documents and whatever.
yeah, it is and it isn't. So, but Sam agreed to do it because if there's a hidden meaning, we don't know other than he was just being nice
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah,
he
thanks
likes
for that,
Dell.
Danielle.
Okay.
Yeah.
Trying to get on our good side.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah. Really wondering. And then I was like, what?
But
But
My
it's
Can you
question,
do with this?
what does Lewis have to do with anything?
well, and
I didn't
then
ever think he had been involved in this.
there was so since Dell didn't have that lease contract for some of the land, she didn't have that money. And remember, they were talking about she's going to lose the farm, this and that. So she came up with an idea to sell some of the land to the Goodwins. They never said who. They just said
Oh, oh, I thought it was just, was this in her like proposal of her like kids for crops or whatever, crops for community or whatever?
it was, and then that didn't
Or
go
is
through.
this after it was
Yeah. So
away and this
then
was her
she did
plan?
say she was going to sell some of the land to the Goodwins. And at
Oh,
that point, I remember thinking, does that include the pond? You
oh,
know, did the Goodwins know about it, and that's why they want the land?
Oh God.
So then that's when Casey came in because she saw what was happening, and we're assuming she knows that it has to
Um,
stay in their hands and keep the pond going. So she works out a deal, cuts the check back or whatever, gives it back.
and tries to
So
write,
the land stays
hey,
there.
okay,
So,
that is a
and
whole
I'm guessing
thing
can
I
of
never
worms.
know.
she, well, no, that wouldn't work. Anyways, yeah, she kind of reversed the deal. Casey did.
Okay.
And so now they don't have all that extra land, which it sounds like maybe this Lewis, maybe he doesn't know about the pond and he just wanted the land for his vineyards. I don't know.
The vineyards, that's it. That's what you
Vineyard.
guys
But
looking.
that's going to crack me up when in a couple episodes there's a full raging vineyard out there with wine being developed.
Dell's gonna be getting drunk every night.
Yeah, it's something like that should take years, but they'll do it in an episode or two.
Totally. All right, so we go from seeing everybody in the 70s, getting the gist of the vibe in the 70s. We flip forward, see the book, get a little bit confused about a lot of different things.
Mm.
Last chunk of the show opens a lot of doors for a lot of questions about Colton. Yeah.
Mm.
Yes.
We find out some sad news about Rick. We find out some powerful news about Miss Alice and how her role
Yeah, at this point she
made a
didn't
huge change in
know about
Colton.
the record.
I'm talking about the car.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
It's
obviously,
a life.
but she doesn't know about the record, so they know that she has to go back.
Yes.
Going
I don't
back.
think she realizes it yet.
Yeah.
And then when the whole Rick thing comes up, she's like, "I'm gone. See ya."
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
did like, I thought it was a neat little touch when she said she has to go, and Dell's like, "Shouldn't you stop her or something?" And Kat just goes, "It's no use." Because she knows, no, don't even bother.
She's
Yeah.
going.
You know, on that note, the shouldn't we stop her? Since Dell has found out about this time travel, Dell was on my like
Found out.
suspicion
Yeah.
list. Number one, you know what's going on. You know something. If you were married to Colton, if you were around for any of this, like you know something. But now, as she actually gets to know, she's being like, she feels not suspicious anymore. And like it feels real that she's just like, oh, how weird. I don't know. I'm just so confused by her. And like I'm giving up on her, just like my theory of her knowing something. But I have nothing to like back it up with, but I don't know. It's really, really frustrating that she could be that clueless.
Don't give up on it yet. I don't
Did
think
she
she is.
not even care about her dog? As we discussed in our last episode, that was a big
Get
topic.
past that.
If you remember the conversation that she had with Jacob by the pond when Jacob said he missed his father. And then she goes, "Yes, we all miss him." He goes, "No, my real father or my other
Oh,
father,
Elijah.
true father," or whatever he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, at during that conversation, she said, "If it was up to me, and it clearly has never been," she was talking about filling in the pond. So
Hmm.
she's had this thought before, and people have said, no, you're not. We're not filling it in. We're keeping it
She,
the way it is.
she is not clueless to this.
No,
Okay.
I think
She's
she's very
crafty.
complicit, and we're going to find that out,
Especially
hopefully.
once we get some more hints and see, like
Her
once we learn
backstory.
about Rick
Uh-huh.
and we know that like there's been some movement, we know that Colton has been time traveling, like we know all of these little things. But then to see what part is it at the end where he comes up with Alice and is madder than hell to be where he is. And you can tell he is aggressively trying to get somewhere when he is 17 years old. Like,
What's he
they've been
wearing?
doing this for a long time.
What's he wearing?
A suit?
He's wearing formal clothes like he just came from a funeral. So the theory
Oh,
is he came from Rick's funeral and wanted to go back to try and save him, and he can't. The pond won't let him. So he's
Han
getting
won't let
mad that
him.
he can't go back.
Oh,
Yeah. I'm kind of
but
curious.
at that point in his life, he knows about the pond
Oh
already.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So he's
You
a,
know?
And
yeah.
Evelyn does not yet know
Well,
because
Yeah.
he was
think
trying
about
to
it,
tell
learn
her.
about it.
Remember at the cove, he was trying to tell her that, and then they got interrupted.
Huh.
And he was just getting ready to tell her when he said, "What if our adventure is right here? It's been here all along."
It's been here.
And
Yes.
then he said something about magic, blah blah blah, and then they got interrupted, and he never told her. So at this point, she
Yeah.
doesn't know, but I have a feeling he's going to try and clue her in with the whole Rick thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That's interesting because if it's at the end and we assume he's traveling to go back to save Rick, if he's in this funeral outfit, that means he already knows the pond does this and he's done a bit of traveling prior to this. So there's a
Right.
whole other story for him out there that we don't know about. Um, I'm also curious with Colton. Coyle, what's his name? Jason, James, what's his name?
Thomas?
Jasper.
Oh, Jasper. He mentions that Colton's dad died. I've been curious about Colton's parents as we're like learning about him and his, upbringing and backstory and
Season
stuff.
4.
Season 4, supposedly.
Season 4.
Until then, I wonder, could there be time traveling around that maybe as a kid or something for him? Because he had to go somewhere. I don't know. Curious about why everyone, unfortunately, in this family seems to die. Um, and is there more to it than that?
Who
Why?
else?
Well, Colton, Rick, Colton's dad, like possibly Jacob, but not. So yeah, it's a theme here. So I'm just like, what's the story? I want to know Colton's backstory. I know we'll probably be seeing more of um Dell and Colton, but I want to see Colton's life right now.
I do too, but I think like I'm just banking on things I've seen online that
Yeah.
I'm not going to see that yet.
Yeah.
So I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, like biggest question right now with what we have from season two to kind of wrap up that like section of questions, what does Colton know about his life? Right? Like, does he know that he dies?
He's
When does he know this?
Yeah, that was a thing as I've been watching some episodes back. I was like, he knows at some point, at least when he is with Jacob, when he is with young Elliot, he knows his
The
fortune,
end's
his
coming.
fate, the end is coming. The thing
Mm,
that he says, like the the carpe diem, whatever line, the like really instilling in Jacob, like, do this, blah, 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 live your life, whatever. I don't even know what he says, but like
yeah.
themes all of a sudden felt very strong. And it's when he is supposedly whatever about to go into
Oh,
that like crash and
yeah.
die. So I feel like he knows and he is And we do see him in that flashback or whatever. He has two adult hymns going on. There's a real one with Elliot or whatever, and then there's a real one that looks the exact age timing. So I think he knows. I don't know how he knows, how you figure that out, but
I gotta wonder if he can go forward and back because
yeah,
I
Elliot's a liar
mean
about that.
he knew about Elijah and Rebecca. I mean, how did he know all that? And it wasn't just passed down from his grandmother.
Mm-hmm.
You could tell the way he answered that.
Hmm.
So he has to go back at some point. We're gonna find out.
Yeah. And specifically them, like we talked about, like how many generations ago were those?
We're Elijah. Yeah.
Why is it this couple that we're tied to? But we could be visiting at the cemetery, all these other Landrys and things, but like, I don't know, they're the only ones mentioned. So
Yeah.
is that because there is that in-person connection that they have?
Yeah. So, big question to think about as we continue on, like throughout the upcoming episodes and the rest of the season. See where it takes us. Um, let's get into the good stuff. What are our theories?
Well,
I've got nothing right now. I'm just full of questions and wonderings.
I
Yeah.
mean, some of the theories I think we just talked about with these questions. Um, my theory is Lewis Goodwin has more to do with than, oh, you upset me because you insulted my family. I think there's more to him. I kind of am going on a theory that it all has to do with these three founding families,
Mm-hmm.
Twins, the Landrys. Help me out.
Augustine's.
Augustine's. It's
Augustines.
right there in the screen. Kendrick Augustine. That the pond is doing something to reconcile all three of them, all three of the families,
Ooh, bring
and
balance
that
to the
they
forces.
each have something to do with the founding of the town and what they're responsible for. The Landrys obviously have the time travel pond. They've said more than once the good ones are the keepers of the time. Now we have to figure out what the Augustines are up to.
Mm.
Maybe Susanna was a type of witch or something, and she has some magic or something, and that's how it kind of started all this.
She was a healer.
Right, which I've got a little note about Susanna. I think you two are both going to love here in a little bit when we get there. Um, but my theory is that those three families all have something to do with the town, and the pond is saying, hey, let's reconcile these three families and
Mm,
town's foundation back,
Yeah.
where it belongs, so to
That's
speak.
interesting. Yeah.
So I don't know. I think we're still going to see something with the clock, and I still think that has something to do with some of this.
yeah.
Lewis also gets me. One of the things that struck me about him when he said, "You're more than just a mouthpiece." What if he recognizes her from the painting at Lingamore, and that her name is Catherine?
What does mouthpiece have to do in making that connection?
Because she's more than just giving a voice or writing that chapter for Susanna. You might know
Gotcha.
that she knows her and that
Yeah.
she was there and that the painting was made of her and this and that.
Mm,
And the whole thing, you're more than just a mouthpiece. Maybe he knows the painting. Maybe he knows Susanna finished the painting and that there was something between the two of them at one point. Which brings me to my point. I read an article in Variety. Yeah, I've been reading. And it talks about they interview Kat and they interview one of the writers. Um, Kat being Kyler Lay. They interview her and they both agree that there was something romantic between the two of them, between Susanna and Kat.
really?
And the writer didn't shoot it down, but actually hinted at they're gonna touch on that more. So that
Oh,
may come up more, which may bring Susanna back into the fold. So,
Well, she straight up said, I sent a video of it to Kelly relating myself to it. She's like quoting Jane Austen in Sense and Sensibility. I will never love another man and I blah, blah, blah. Like I have no interest, blah, blah, blah. But then also, that means Kat had three interests at one time. Elliot, Thomas, Susanna.
which
Little hussy.
which Kyler and the writer both said at no point did we say Kat was perfect. They both said that. Like they
that's a
know
lot
she
of
had
crushing.
flaws. They know she, had more
Mhm.
than a love, and they think by the end of this season, it's gonna help deteriorate the Evan Cat thing. So we'll see how that goes. But
Okay.
that's coming from the writer and the actress. So, I thought it was an interesting thing. And they did both dive into, they love how this show put that in there and is going to look at it again because it's showing love as more fluid instead of just,
Hmm.
you know, societal norms or whatever they are. And
Yeah,
Hallmark, we see
so
you.
yeah,
I
so it'll
did
be interesting if
enjoy
they
that.
continue
Yeah.
with that.
Uh-huh. For them to just have like whatever kind of relationship that they want to have, whatever it means to them. I like seeing that. Their bond, sisterhood, whatever you want to call it, was really great. I think it's just interesting that Elliot kept emphasizing to her, why don't you ever talk to me about Thomas? Huh, huh, huh. What about Thomas? And it's like, what
You
about
don't have to be worried about Thomas.
Right, like you don't
Right.
have to because I didn't really feel like much was going on with them until the very end of their time together. So, but her and Susanna though, which is also a relative of Elliot, so
That's the
but
kinfolk.
incestual.
I am still gonna stick with the theory that Lewis has to have somebody, and that somebody becomes Alice's person and Casey's
Yeah,
parent. There's a missing link there that I'm gonna still stick with that theory. I'm not ready to let that one go yet.
I like that. I don't want to agree with it, but I hope that comes true for you because it's cool, but I just don't believe it myself just yet.
That whole ring thing, that just makes no sense
The
whatsoever.
ring
So,
is it was such I was thinking about this. I was like, the ring was such a flex to like wear on a chain. I almost feel like she has it somehow, whatever. But I almost feel like at least she doesn't know what it is or what it means or something. Like I don't know if it's special for whatever reason. I don't I don't see the daughter mother thing with Alice yet, but not to say it's wrong. I don't see it. I do think Lewis is Casey's dad, if I'm going to make an assumption. And I do feel like Lewis had some kind of role with Evelyn in maybe her death. I don't know if we ever touched on like why that happened in the show, like why she died because she wasn't that old. I know she was
wait,
like,
she's dead? I
Who?
didn't know that. I missed that.
right?
Wait, what?
Evelyn died.
All right. Kelly, we need you to watch the same show we're watching.
My God, I
Oh,
am. I missed that part.
you've
When did
got it. You've got it. No, but yeah, that's why it's so weird. It like seemed to be like kind of abrupt and like, why? What happened? Like they paint her to be like this isolated person who had issues. I think they're even like prescription medications on a thing by her like chair at the window or something I'm seeing in my head. Um, but knowing how like sweet she was and how full of life she was and well off and financially well and all of that, it's just like, what happened there? How does she have these sons? What's her story? And knowing that this loudmouth guy walks into a book signing all high and mighty, like, I don't know. And if Casey's the daughter, she obviously doesn't like him. I don't like him. Can't imagine Evelyn would like him. I don't know. He kind of, I don't know. I'm interested in that whole family though. So
what part of what episode did I miss?
I have no idea.
Remember when they went to Lingamore and Kat found the painting of herself
Oh yeah. The like
and the
estate sale.
gun?
Oh
Yeah.
yeah.
That they were at her
Yeah.
house and that's where the state sale was?
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's why I'm wondering if Lewis knows about the painting.
Okay, there we go. Gotcha. Okay, so a lot
Yeah.
more to
You would
discover with
know about that makes sense. He would have seen that painting in the house, I'm sure, whether he went to the house often, but I'm sure when your mother dies or whoever, yeah, that is his mother. For sure. That's confirmed. You're gonna go in the house and see, get those affairs in order and see things.
totally.
Gee.
Wow. So a lot more to know about the good ones, which is crazy to think the only person that we know from season two, like with the whole like time travel thing, is the guy on the horse with the boot,
Cyrus Goodwin?
Cyrus
Cyrus.
Goodman. That's
That
the only
guy?
good one we know, and he sucks. But then to know like there's a whole lot more with that sucky attitude, sir.
Right.
Mhm.
Dang. Okay, any other theories that we want to throw in before we jump out of the pond and get back into our present day?
No, not theories.
Okay. Do we dare go with our most valuable time traveler of the episode?
Yeah, I can go first.
Go.
I, of course, love Alice because she's given us a whole new world again. When she is just the backbone of this time traveling. I'm sorry, Kat. Like, yeah, you did your time, but like Alice, man. But then also, she's most valuable, most interesting time traveler, though, Colton at the very end. Like, whoa, what is happening? But not yet valuable because we don't know what he's doing. But
Totally.
surprise for sure.
Totally. Who's your MVTT, Sven? Finn?
Um, I'm going with not a time traveler, but I'm still going to give the MVP to Evelyn.
Okay.
Um,
We
just
can
the
be
way
time
she
travelers.
floated into the scene and just embraced Alice.
Mm,
She feels like the glue in that group
Hmm.
and just holds that together. And just the way I don't know. I think she's kind of a scene stealer.
mm.
Yeah.
Whoa. Can you guys still see me? Okay,
Yep.
there it goes. Never. Sorry.
Absolutely.
Something popped up.
Got bright for a second.
We're we're good on time, don't worry.
Yeah, I saw that. Good job.
I'm
Kelly, MVTT.
I have a lot of things that I'm wondering about with Evelyn right now. Um, Knowing, like, taking what you said, like, she's so welcoming, so sweet, so warm, so like full of life, so youthful, so playful,
Comforting. Yeah.
things. Like, she is just like a little like love
Mhm.
emoji in action.
Like heart hands.
But then it's also like, but like, why? Like, why do you love Colton so much? Why do you love Rick so much? Why are you guys in this little like throuple situation?
Yeah.
It's
Like,
it's
what's the
the
deal
what did
here?
she say? It's the summer of love and
Yeah.
something,
Where's
you
that
know.
coming
How much
from?
of that is forced and like all of that, and then just see kind of what you guys reminded me of, um, from what we saw of her, like towards the end of her life, like Kendra, you
She
bringing up
was
things like
portrayed.
pill
Yeah.
bottles and stuff like that, and all of that. Like, what's your story, girl? So I'm
I
Yeah.
very most curious about her.
sorry, I was looking something up and I should jump back to the theories on that. Um, I think she starts they lost Rick in that freak draw. I think we're gonna see more of that time, obviously, the funeral and stuff, and how she reacts to that. But I think which they didn't show us is that she probably went into this reclusiveness when Colton died because she really had a thing for him
Mhm.
Mm,
and she held on to
that's
that.
both of them.
Yeah, and now she's alone, she thinks, or that's how she feels, and so she's just,
She
went into
lost
her
both.
shell and health just went downhill. But
That
Dang,
makes
theory.
sense.
dang. Um, MVTT though for me, Alice for sure.
Mhm.
She's going to connect all the dots. She's so observant. She's so jump into it, biff it with everybody, become besties. She's gonna solve the whole town's family drama dilemma. That's our
Knows the
girl.
words to Seals and Crofts songs. I mean, come on.
Doom, doom, doom,
She's,
doom.
she's so cute. Okay,
Quotes.
let's hear them. I could not pin.
Kendrick had an idea for her favorite quote.
Yeah.
Kendra?
Grody.
I'm sorry, I talked over you. Do it again. Wait, let me set you up.
Okay,
Yeah.
she's done.
Um, oh, I thought you were going after Rick. I set you up, Kendrick.
Grody. Did she say it then? I didn't even realize.
Yeah, because she asked Alice, she says, so
Yeah,
which
she's
one
like,
of the
no.
guys are you after? She goes, oh, definitely not Colton. And she goes, oh, so it must be Rick. And she goes, no, I thought you liked Rick. And then she goes,
Grody.
yeah.
Yeah,
She,
my
some of the stuff she said really reminded me of the Brady Bunch, how they talk.
Oh, and that lines up with these timelines, right?
Yeah, and maybe that's what, I mean, it was on TV at that time. Actually, it was done. It was in reruns already. But they're really talking like, or she is at least, like they did on
which
that
is
TV show.
yeah, the outlier. Because I felt like Colton and Rick were pretty genuine
Right.
things they said, like authentic characters, not like little like kid sitcom.
Yeah.
Like, but she was pretty like cookie cutter, like branded, specific type of
Right.
life. Oh yeah, magic. Like, I don't know. I liked it. It was a breath of fresh air, but
Her and Jasper were the only ones that sounded like they were from the 70s.
mm, mm-hmm.
Like
Mm.
groovy, man.
Yeah. But they're
But
stereotyped,
they're
right?
also not from Canada.
He's not. He's from New
He-
York.
yeah, he is New York. Evelyn?
Evelyn is from there because she's one of the founding families.
That's what I thought. I
Who
don't
Belle
is?
is from North Carolina.
Or
know
she's
though.
Dell who's summering.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which we were questioning where Andy McDowell got that accent from. She is from South Carolina.
Good to know. You said it was a
I
Louisiana
said
drawl.
Louisiana.
So that accent's from there, so that tracks.
Huh.
No, that's not my favorite quote.
Oh, it totally is. You
No,
love that.
I went a little deeper. When Sam Bishop, this line just got me. He was
Dusty
defending
hinges or
Jacob at the,
rusty hinges on the barn.
no, at the point when they're in the book reading, when Lewis
Total
was
sexual
yelling,
innuendo.
when he walks away from him, when he says he'd like to learn more from Jacob, and then he says, and this is the quote, I find I learn from listening, not talking. And it
Mm.
just hung there. And everybody's just kind of like, and Dell looks at around like, yep, that's my man.
Hmm.
It was just like,
Yeah.
boom, and looked at Jacob, and it looked like at that point, they just
Enough.
accepted Sam as part of their group. Like,
Yeah.
good
Mm.
man,
Right. It was like, ooh, that was almost a Colton move.
But the
Thank
way he delivered that was just like, all right, he knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
He didn't get emotional. He didn't didn't raise his voice. He just said it calm and just
Level.
boom. And it was just like, whoa, all right,
Yeah.
this guy, he's
He's legit.
clever. We got to keep an eye on him.
Hmm. Yeah. I did have another quote that I wrote down. History is told by the winners, said by Kat at the same scene. I thought she was just kind of spitting facts there. I was like, like accurate to Susanna not being able to tell her story and publish her book because she was a woman at the time. But also just kind of like related to just lots of history and things. I was like,
Do
good
you
job.
remember when she said a good friend told me that? Do you remember who her friend was?
Who was her friend?
It was Susanna who told her that.
I figured, okay, but I didn't want to be wrong. Okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's a good quote. Kelly, have we heard yours?
I don't have one. I couldn't pin one down. I was just like starstruck by everything that came out of Evelyn's 1970s mouth. I loved everything. about how cheesy and corny and naive her character was and like aggressively wishy-washy, all of it. I was like, that's it. And she starts talking about Stevie Nicks and crystals, and I was like,
Yeah.
you're so on trend right now in 2025.
Right. I
So,
was, and I was curious about that, and I knew they were around in the early 70s, so I looked it up, and Fleetwood Mac formed in 1967. So
wow.
did it take that long for them to take off, for their music to come across? I almost said come across the pond when people talk about the US, but different meaning here. But did it take that long for music to take off
Yeah.
in
Well,
North
it
America?
also only references Stevie Nicks, and Stevie Nicks went solo after Fleetwood Mac. So
Well, she did say she
saying,
plays music with her husband or her boyfriend or something,
oh, oh, okay. Yeah, I
which
just heard the
was
line
Lindsey
about
Buckingham.
Stevie Nicks
So
and skills.
I was gonna say, did Stevie start with the band?
yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, that was she is spitting out the facts. All right, final thoughts. I think we already had them, didn't we?
We've had
Huh.
so many thoughts.
So
Huh?
many thoughts.
So many thoughts. I'm interested to learn more about Evelyn.
Yes.
Yes.
I'm interested to see the impact that Rick's passing has on everybody in that time.
Yep.
Interested to see what Alice's continued trips to the 70s bring to the storyline.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I'm interested to see if Rick's death will bring Colton to tell Evelyn about the pond or stop him from telling her because he couldn't save him.
Oh.
So now is he not going to tell her?
And just
And
trying to take
then,
it on his own.
yeah,
And yeah, and how does his focus go on Dell from here, or there's so many things happening? Is that I
Dell.
did like what's her
Barely
role
talked
here
about
too?
her.
What mess is Kat gonna get herself into in this next episode? That's my
I
question.
hope it's a big mess
How
because,
she force herself into this storyline.
yeah, I'm kind of not looking forward to it if the next half of this season or, a good chunk of it is just Colton and Dell. Like, we need more
Yeah, like don't.
stuff to happen.
Yeah,
We've got to get the backstory with Dell and Evelyn.
Yeah, and we need more of this Lewis character, and we need to bring Casey back, and you
yeah,
know,
and
we need
What?
answers.
yep.
Come
It's
on, people.
I hope they must do it because it's so bizarre to bring in a new character, Rick, and then just instantly kill him off, unless it's going to spark all of these other
Yeah, I think you're right.
left behind.
I think you just hit on it that it does spark Alice going back. She just took off. I'm going back, try and save him. It shows now it introduced her seeing Colton come out of the pond or
Mhm,
trying to,
mhm.
you know. So now she's just discovered that he can travel and
Mm.
knows about it. So now she can probably, that's the conversation I want to see. When she talks to him and will say, I know you in the future. I know your family. I'm your granddaughter, blah, blah, blah. I think that's going to spark the whole thing of him realizing, seeing all of his family all along, that when she shows up at the farm, he doesn't question it because he knows her. And
Yeah.
he knows at this point she hasn't gone back to 74 yet when Colton is, you
Oh,
know, an
yeah,
adult and meets her at the farm.
yeah, that's really weird because yeah, would be a younger version of herself in the future when she goes to the 90s versus the 70s.
Right. Because yeah, so like in the present day, she goes back to the 90s, meets Colton. He recognizes her from 1974, knowing that she doesn't go back to 1974 to like 2024. Like Kelly's losing her mind. You know what? Your reaction
Is
is
it?
exactly like your mother's when I talked to her about this.
I like it though.
Yeah, it's I don't know.
Time traveling storylines, I think, are the most interesting
And I've
to
been trying to tell you guys this for
being
years.
written.
Right? 'Cause it's like there are rules, but at the same time, sometimes it's like anything can go, right? Like,
Track of everything and how
yes,
everything
yeah,
runs.
never know what's happening.
Just wait till we take a deep dive episode into the love letter, that old Hallmark movie with the desk and the letter.
Dear lady.
And then we
Shout
can jump into
out to
Age
the
of
love letter.
Adeline, the lake house.
Yes, let's just be a time
It
traveling.
just goes on and on.
All right, so lots to learn, lots to look forward to, lots of questions that we're looking for answers to.
Yep.
Here's to our next dive back into the pond. We'll see you next week for episode 3. Fingers crossed, it's a good one.
Hmm.
Well,
Signing off. I'm Kelly at Landry.
Hendrik Augustine.
and
Finn.
Finn.